Okay, good morning. Today we're going to be working with the Manhattan Project. And like I said earlier, I'm going to set you up on our lecture on the play, The Crucible. However, before reading The Crucible, a war happened. And that war, some people call it a war, other people call it an era. That is the era of the Cold War. All of that, everything that happened in the Cold War, there was things that happened specifically in the United States that was a motivation for Arthur Miller to write the play The Crucible. Things are going to happen in the Cold War, and things are going to happen in the United States, that we're going to talk about that when we work with the Cold War. However, before the Cold War, there was another war, and that was World War II. We know 1941, the United States became part of that war when Japan bombed Pearl Harbor. So, before the bombing of Pearl Harbor, there was a thought about mass destruction bombs. Therefore, we're going to talk about that here in the Manhattan Project. So, atomic bombs were built for one thing only. Besides destruction, they were created to make peace. We know that after the atomic bomb, after those bombs of mass destruction were created, the world was never the same. And that's something that we have now. The world has never been the same after those bombs. So, after those bombs were created and dropped, in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the world was never the same. Okay? Now, how did the United States ended up winning the nuclear race? Well, in Germany, they were starting the United States that in Germany, they found a way to work with the atoms and all of that, and they had the opportunity to create weapons of mass destruction. There's rumors are circulating in the United States, and it's creating concern, okay? Now, 1933, something very important happened. When Hitler took power in 1933, a lot of the Jews were in a threat in Europe. Therefore, a lot of Jews that were in Europe decided to move to the United States. We know the United States is a land of freedom. It's a land that they will feel safer. One of the Jews that fled to the United States was Albert Einstein. Okay? A lot of the Jews that fled to the United States, they also went to universities in the United States. Okay? Very, very, very important. Leo Szilard. Leo Szilard. Szilard. Leo Szilard was a Hungarian physicist.
Hungarian?
And this guy, Szilard, Leo Szilard.
No, Hungarian. He was.
Hungarian. Like that, with an H at the beginning, Hungarian. Physicist, he was concerned about this project. This physicist wanted to warn the government of the United States, especially President Roosevelt. At the moment, Roosevelt was the president of the United States, but Leo Szilard did not have the power to convince the people and the authorities of the United States that this mass destruction weapons were being created or were being thought about in Germany. Therefore, this guy's gonna go to Long Island, New York, and this guy's gonna speak to Albert Einstein. He's gonna speak to Albert Einstein, and he's gonna say this is what happened. He's gonna alert him on what they're doing in Germany, and he's gonna ask him a favor. He has a concern, so Leo Szilard said, I'm gonna write a letter warning President Roosevelt. However, I'm gonna need a favor from you, and that is to sign the letter. Why did he wanted to sign the letter? Something very important. He knew that Albert Einstein was a person that was going to have a strong push, influential person, and what was going to happen? They were going to believe them, and they did. Okay. Fun fact for you guys to know: Leo Szilard was born in 1898. Does anybody know what happened? What important event happened in Puerto Rico in 1898? What happened? What happened? No, it wasn't that.
1898.
What happened? In 1898, in the town of Guanica, what happened? Right there, if you go to Guanica, if you go to what it's called in Malecón, Guanica, they have a big rock right there. What happened throughout that bay right there? What happened? 1898 was the year that the United States invaded Puerto Rico. 1898 was the year that the U.S. invaded Puerto Rico. Okay? And from there on, we have been a territory of the United States. Okay? Remember, we had the Treaty of Paris and all that with Spain, and that's why right now we're a territory of the United States. Okay? Now, this letter, Szilard is going to give a warning to President Roosevelt. However, he's also going to give recommendations, okay? And at the letter is going to have the signature of Albert Einstein. So, Marina, I'll read the letter.
Sir, some recent work by E. Fermi and L. Szilard, which has been communicated to me in manuscript, leads me to expect that the element uranium may be turned into a new important source of energy in the immediate future. Certain aspects of the situation, which has a recent theme to call for watchfulness and, if necessary, quick action on the part of the administration. I believe, therefore, that it is in my duty to bring to your attention the following facts and recommendations. In the course of the last 4 months, it has been made probable through the work of Joliet in France, as well as Fermi and Szilard in America, that it may be possible to get up a nuclear chain reaction in the large mass of uranium, by which vast amounts of power and large quantities of new radium-like elements would be generated. Now it appears almost certain that this could be achieved in the immediate future. This new phenomenon would also lead to the construction of bombs, and it is conceivable, through much less certain, that extremely powerful bombs of new type may thus be constructed. A single bomb of this type, carried by boat and exploded in a port, might very well destroy the whole port together with some surrounding territory. However, such bombs might very well prove to be heavy for transportation by air. The United States has only very poor ores of uranium in moderate quantities. There is some good in Canada and former
Czechoslovakia.
While the most important source of uranium is Belgian Congo. In view of this situation, you may think it's considerable to have some permanent contact maintained between the administration and the group of physicists working on chain reactions in America. One possible way of achieving this might be for you to entrust with the task a person who has your confidence and could perhaps serve in an unofficial capacity. His task might comprise the following: A. To approach the governmental parts, keep it informed of the further development. and puts together recommendations for government action.
Right there, he explains everything what's happening, what Salar told him, and he's also giving recommendation on what the administration should do.
Giving particular attention to the problem of security and supply of uranium over the United States. To speed up the experimental work which is at present being carried and within the limits of the budget of the university's laboratories. By providing funds, and such funds be required, through his contacts with private persons who are willing to contribute for this cause, and perhaps also by obtaining the cooperation of industrial laboratories which have the necessary equipment. I understand that Germany has actually stopped the sale of uranium from the
Czechoslovakia?
mines which she has taken over. That she should have taken such early actions might perhaps be understood on the ground that son of the German Undersecretary of State, von Weizsäcker, is attached to the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute in Berlin, where some of the American work of uranium is now being repeated. Yours very truly, Albert Einstein.
What is that at the end?
Albert Einstein.
Albert Einstein. So, the letter went out to the administration of the United States as of Albert Einstein. That's why a lot of people say that the one that warned the United States about what was happening was Albert Einstein. But if you look at back, the one that actually warned was Leo Szilard. He used the help of Albert Einstein as a source of intermediary and as a source to communicate it to the President Roosevelt. But the one with the concern, the one that initially wanted to warn the administration of the United States was Leo Szilard, okay? So this letter is very important. When Roosevelt gets the letter, he is very concerned about what's happening, but the project of working or constructing this mass destructive bombs in the future wasn't a priority because at the moment there was World War II. At the moment, the United States wasn't part of World War II, okay? But at the moment with that letter, it was a concern, but it did not become a full priority for the U.S. Now, it wasn't until 1941 that Japan attacked Pearl Harbor. At that moment is when the United States declare war on Japan and the United States enters World War II. Okay? After the attacks of Pearl Harbor, after the United States go and enters the World War II, that's where the Manhattan Project became a priority for the United States of America. 3 sources worked with this project. Number 1, scientists. Number 2, engineers. And number 3, the Army. So what forces team up in this Manhattan Project? Number 1, scientists, especially the physicists. 2, engineers. 3, the Army. Number 1, you need the physicists because you need a lot of things to create that explosion. You need engineers to build the bomb that is going to hold up, the structure that is going to hold it up, and who's going to work with that, who's going to drop it on whatever they're going to drop it, that's going to be the Army. So you need those 3 powers to team up, okay? Regular employees were recruited to work on this project. However, it was a secret project. They cannot say what they were doing, okay? One of the recommendations that Szilard gave to the administration was to censor the newspapers and the media, because if other countries, especially Germany, knew that the United States was working on this project, well, that wasn't going to be a good idea. So they kept it close, so nothing was infiltrated, okay? That's very important. April 12th, 1945, something very important happened. 1945. President Roosevelt spoke his last words. And I quote, "I have a terrific headache." And after that, he fainted. He died. So on April 12, 1945, President Franklin Roosevelt died. How he died, it's what it's called a cerebral hemorrhage. That is when your brain, there's a lot of blood in your brain, and in Spanish that was called es como una hemorragia cerebral o derrame cerebral. Okay, this can be caused for two things, two reasons. Number one, it could be a trauma, an accident, whatever, that you impact your head, that could cause that hemorrhage, or just simply, like happened to Roosevelt, spontaneously, and that could be caused because of stress. And you know that being a president is a very stressful position, or also can be caused by strong work. If you're doing like a lot of force, that could your blood that sends pressure, that could have an effect on that hemorrhage. Okay, very important. When things like this happen, the way for a president to, the way for a person to become president without an actual election was like Harry Truman became a president of the United States, and that was Roosevelt died, the vice president was Truman, Truman became the president, okay? So that was a way that Harry S. Truman became the 33rd president of the United States. President dies, you got the vice president, becomes the president. If you have watched the series House of Cards, you're gonna see an example of that, okay? Plain simple. The Manhattan Project is gonna continue. The bad thing here is that Truman did not know all of the things that Roosevelt knew, and he was very immersed, as Roosevelt was, because the one that began the project was Roosevelt. So this is a working process, okay? July 16 of 1945. The first test or experiment of these bombs was made in Los Alamos, New Mexico. 19. The first experiment of these bombs were launched in Los Alamos, New Mexico.
45.
Everything that I'm going to be speaking in the Manhattan Project from now on will be in the 45, okay? 1945. On August 6th of 1945, the first bomb was dropped, was used in combat in the Japan city of Hiroshima. August 6th of the 1945, first bomb was launched, was dropped in combat in Hiroshima. 3 days later, August 9, 1945, second bomb was dropped in Nagasaki. August 14, 1945, Japan surrendered, and that's how the World War II ends. So basically, how World War II ended with the bomb droppings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. That's how the war ended. A lot of reaction, nuclear reaction. A lot of people died. A lot of collateral damage was left throughout those bombs. So basically, all of this is going to build up to another war that is going to follow after World War II, and that war is the Cold War. So basically, that will be it on the Manhattan Project. Thank you.